David? Oh. Let me get rid of this. There we go.
Yep, I'm here.
Double checking you can hear us still, Dave.
Got you loud and clear.
Okay. That's sharing. And can you see the screen?
I can't see the screen.
Can you see the document up there?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I call to order the budget committee meeting for the Fernwood School District for 2025. Let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of Yes.
Now I have a couple copies here.
The only thing I saw was that my name was spelled
No.
consistently. It was spelled right once. There.
Oh,
But
okay.
then all the rest.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I will correct it though before it gets signed.
So no comments. I need a motion to accept.
I'll move to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Opposed? No, okay. Motion passes. And now it's Gary's turn.
Gary's turn. Say this every year, but while I know you all can read, the part of the law says I have to read this to you, so here we go. Dear members of the Budget Committee and community, the 24-25 school year wraps up the second year of the current biennium. The proposed budget document represents the Fernwood School District's 25-26 fiscal year financial plan. The forecasts included in the proposed budget are based on the latest local information as well as the latest information available from the Oregon Department of Education and expected federal funds. The budget is built on an expected stable flat enrollment as compared to current numbers. However, enrollment K-12 is on a slight decline as we're down around 25 students over the course of the last 2 years. While that number may seem small, future enrollment drops appear likely, as we expect that in 25-26, our three lowest grade levels will be kinder, first, and second grade. This is a common experience among school districts across the state of Oregon. While Fernwood enrollment has not seen the same level of decline in the state where Lane County has experienced, it is a reality that will have an impact. In 2025, Oregon ranks 47th out of 50th in both birth rates, number of births per 1,000 people in population within a year, and fertility rates, the number of births per 1,000 women of reproductive age in population year. In this upcoming first year of the biennium, the district is projected to receive approximately 5.27% more in the total state school fund formula than we did in 24-25. While this increase in funding is certainly welcome, it remains a challenge to keep up with inflationary pressures in areas such as purchase services, out of district special education placement costs, insurance, and supplies. Despite the significant rise in costs, the district has positioned itself well in recent years to be able to weather this period of deficit spending that we find ourselves in. In recent years, the last two, we've begun to focus on the process of preparing to move out of this deficit spending cycle. In our 23-24 budget, we presented to this committee that we expected the deficit spend approximately $2 million. Our end of year audit had us deficit spending at about the $1.2 million level. In 24-25, we expected the deficit spend around $1.2 million. However, when we're audited later this summer, I expect it to be around $1 million, if not slightly under. For our expected revenue in 25-26, we're using the most conservative projections. With those projections, this budget has us deficit spending at around $600,000. However, I would expect actuals to come in under $500,000. We will look to propose a budget in a year from now that is balanced, spending close to an amount that we're bringing in while maintaining an end fund balance of greater than 10%. I believe we're on track to meet this goal. You may notice many districts around us giving pink slips to staff. There are many reasons that Fern Ridge is not in this position. Most notably by ensuring we spend our COVID dollars the district received on one-time purchases that would support students, but also positively impacting future general fund expenditures and not spending those dollars on adding more staff. We do have some staffing reductions in this year's budget. However, they will be easily addressed through retirements and other staff resignations due to family move, for example. While our proposed budget for 25-26 continues to have us deficit spending, that amount continues to be reduced over the last three budgets, and our reserves remain relatively healthy. We began the 24-25 school year with an end fund balance of $4.5 million. Things to note: state funding. We're budgeting off the governor's proposed K-12 biennial budget of $11.359 billion. There are a few other bills the legislature is considering in this cycle that could bring us additional funds. Those include proposals to increase the spend cap and PERS relief, to name a few. Regardless, our proposed budget does not take into account any additional dollars, and as such, our financial picture can only improve, and I expect it will. Bond. The passage of the district facilities bond in the spring of 2024 was a significant help to the general fund, as a major component of the bond was addressing HVAC and other mechanical systems that would have needed to be addressed using general fund dollars had it not passed. Federal dollars. This is the biggest unknown in this year's budget. However, we assume they will remain essentially flat and maybe midsummer before we learn our allotment of Title I, II, and $4. Bargaining. Another strength of our current position is that we have contracts now in place for all certified administrator and district office groups through June 30th, 2028. In addition, our classified contracts are settled through June 2027. Having these costs locked in and known is a significant help as we look to plan for the future. I would also like to recognize all of our employee groups who are bargaining in good faith and understand the balance of supporting our staff with a fair and competitive financial package while also doing what is best for our students. Their partnership was a significant reason for our financial stability. Every year there are adjustments, both small and large, in our budgeting plan. I've identified a few below I would like to bring to the committee's attention. Reductions in transfer amounts to some of our reserve accounts. We're able to do this as we have built these accounts up significantly over the last 6 to 8 years. The reduction of 1.0 elementary teacher. With another small kindergarten class coming in and a larger 5th grade class moving out, I would not expect our average elementary class size to increase at all, even with this reduction. The reduction of a half an FTE at the high school and a half of an FTE at Fern Ridge Middle School. We have addressed this through retirement and the transfer of a teacher. The loss of our school psychologist returned to a model of contracting for these services. The continued reduction of dollars being allocated to our options program. The program will completely phase out at the end of the 25-26 school year. The district is committed to providing the best possible learning environment that's fiscally possible. I believe this proposal is an accurate depiction of the budget and is the most reasonable projection of our fiscal resources and uses at this time. This proposal implements the desires of the board and utilizes fiscally responsible financial practices. While the proposed 25-26 budget does not fully fund everything our students deserve, our efforts are designed to maintain an environment that still promotes high levels of student achievement and progression of our students to college and beyond. Through conservative and sound budgeting practices, the district is positioned to weather the elements of this inflationary market without the cuts, reductions in force, school closures, and other cost-cutting measures that some districts around the state are experiencing. We'll continue to look for meaningful ways to support staff and students in the years to come while ensuring we remain fiscally responsible. We're grateful to you, the Budget Committee and School Board, for reviewing the proposed budget. Thank you for generously balancing your responsibility for our district's financial plan with your heartfelt desires to do what is best for all our students.
is recording to the cloud, right?
Oh, I just wasn't sure, I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
I know that's one thing I always forget to do.
this isn't the same as it was last year, so it's a little challenging to me.
I have one question, with the extra dollars and everything, were we one of the few districts to not, pay for new staff? Or was that more common in Oregon as opposed to like other states?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say one of the few, but definitely, the majority of districts, is that 60% or 80%, I'm not sure. But definitely a lot of districts, were spending dollars on one-time staff, but they ended up having to cut now that those dollars are gone.
Thank you.
Can I go back a couple pages, just because the agenda was right here, just to kind of go over what the plan is tonight. So the budget message, that's done. Cross that one off. Demographics, and then budget overview, and then looking forward, and we can do questions, but feel free to ask questions throughout as well. This graph is just our in-district enrollment for the past 10 years. We are projecting 1,284 for 25-26. Currently, we're at 1,280.84. That was as of the last estimate. But for 24-25, we projected 1,284 as well for in-district enrollment. So we are planning for, a flat enrollment, no increase or decrease. This chart shows our students with disabilities, and I just wanted to put this in here. I know I've mentioned this before, you guys have heard this before, but there's an 11% cap on how we get paid by the state for students with disabilities. And that's 11% of your ADMR. We are currently at 21%. So we're receiving double payments on that 11%, but that other 10% we are not. We have one of the higher numbers, I believe, in the state. Yes. And this just kind of goes back to 2015-16. It's kind of just been crawling up here. This is just classroom size ratio, 24 at the elementary, 22 at the middle school, and 23 at the high school. These are some notes on our FTE for the budget next year. The budget reflects a decrease of 5.15 FTE overall from the 24-25. These are by resignations or retirements. There are no RIFs involved. 3.3 of the 5.1 is licensed and 1.85 is classified. Okay, so we'll go over the budget overview. And some assumptions. Enrollment is the main driver for revenue, and expenses need to align with enrollment. So if our enrollment goes down, our expenses need to go down as well. Revenue is calculated based on the most recent state school fund estimate of 11.4, with 49% received in the first year of the biennium. The district develops a balanced financial plan that includes estimates of expenditures aligned with other projected revenues. Special revenue grants are considered and utilized to the fullest extent possible. However, many grant allocations are unknown this year, so things could need to be adjusted after budget adoption once we have our final federal numbers come in. Requests to increase or modify the budget are submitted from the buildings and evaluated for possible adjustments. I don't think there was any of that this year. The budget is prepared in compliance with the local budget law. All right, our general fund resources. Our general fund budget this year is $22,806,646. The largest revenue we receive into our general fund, of course, comes from the state school fund. And like I said in the previous slide, we're basing that off of the 11.4 estimate and receiving 49% of that this year. That covers about 56% of our general fund revenue. We also receive local sources, and that is based off of property taxes, and we're assuming a 3.5% increase in assessed property tax revenue. And that is a fixed tax rate at 4.824 on every $1,000 assessed. Intermediate sources are projections of ESD flex funds and county school funds. Those can vary year to year. We try to estimate the best we can, but sometimes they come in higher, sometimes they come in lower. Federal sources are projections of federal forest fees, which remain relatively consistent. There's not a huge fluctuation in that typically, the last several years anyways. Other sources include a rollover from 24-25 and a small transfer back to the general fund from the outdoor school fund. We used to have to fund the outdoor school program through the general fund, so we used to have to make transfers into the special revenue fund, which is where the outdoor school fund is. And there was still some money sitting in there that had been transferred in that was never utilized since we now have a grant. So we're transferring that back to where it originally came. The variances on general fund resources, 6.36%. We are up compared to the prior year budgeting, excluding the in-fund balance. So that's just revenue. All right, general fund requirements. Our largest general fund requirement is salaries and associated payroll costs, coming in at around 66%. Next to that, we have the other use of funds category. This includes the ending fund balance above, and our ending fund balance, is above our minimum requirement of 5%. That's what the board policy states. We are budgeting 8.99%. Transfers are also included. Those transfers are for the food service fund, textbook fund, athletic fund, technology fund, maintenance reserve fund, and purse reserve. They are quite lower this year compared to last year. There is a minimal increase in supplies and other objects, which does create a tighter budget. So we'll have to watch the numbers closely, making sure we're not going over on anything. But we're trying to get out of a deficit spending, so we're just budgeting a little tighter. Purchase services saw the largest percent increase. This is due to higher transportation costs and the purchase of out-of-district slots, along with the corresponding rise in the cost per slot. Other objects remain fairly consistent with past years' budgets. So the major variances of our general fund requirements, purchase services, like I said, it's 12% higher than the budget was last year. The transfers are down 38% compared to last year.
Can you go back to, sorry,
Okay.
as far as like the purchase services?
Yeah.
Was there any, you called out specific transportation costs and out of district slots. Could you explain a little bit more about the out of district slots? Was that more to do like with the track having or anything like that?
No, it actually has to do with special needs students who we are not able to service within our district. So we had to send them in town to a location who can serve them. Those slots are typically very expensive. They've increased significantly over the last 3 years. So.
A couple examples of that would be like, currently we have 2 fully deaf students. Their slot for their program in Eugene is over $100,000 per kid. Slots for, I was mentioning the increase in cost through the Lane ESD. Our students go to, for example, Lane School or life skills programs that range anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000. for a slot. Those have really increased in recent years.
Used to be 30,000, so it's almost doubled.
That, I was just curious why it was like out of district slots, just because
Yeah,
that makes more sense now. Thank you.
yeah. All right, this shows our general fund balance. It shows actuals for 21 through 24 and projected for 24, 25 and projected for 25, 26. So the first line is our beginning fund balance, which is rolling over from the prior year, total revenues, and then our total expenditures, what we underspent, transfers that went out of the general fund, those are always spent because they go into a different fund, the contingency. Since I've been here, we have not spent the contingency, but we are required to budget for that. So that shows a line item there, but it's also underspent. So then you have your total expenditures and your operating surplus. So the red means you're in a deficit, which would mean our budgeted expenditures exceed our total revenues. So that doesn't factor in the beginning fund balance. So it's just what you're bringing in and, putting out that year. And then the bottom line is our end fund balance projections.
With the ending fund after the deficit, right?
Yeah. Right, special revenue funds. We have quite a few funds in the special revenue. Most of these funds are restricted, either because they're for various programs or they are grants, which have a lot of restrictions and can only be spent on specific things. The food service fund is slightly higher in the budget this year compared to last year. That's just due to increased costs and usage. We've had quite a bit of usage this year. I don't know if that has to do with providing the free meals through the CEP program, but we have bumped up quite a bit. Student body funds are also in special revenue. Those are difficult to project and can vary significantly year to year. There could be a fundraiser one year and not the next year. There could be a donation one year and not the next year. It's kind of all over the place. The athletic fund budget, that does not change much from year to year. I mean, we kind of have a budget set for that, and it typically does increase every year, just costs go up every year. State programs, the early literacy grant is expected to receive an increase with the funds to be spent at the K-3 level. We are not positive on that increase yet, but we're hopeful to get one. The high school success and SIA grant are expected to remain relatively consistent with current funding levels, but again, those are also unknown. The federal programs, all federal grant allocations are unknown at this time. However, we have included a reduction in Title I as we anticipate a decrease to some extent in that grant. It could be more, but we know at least it will be going down. I think at least 30,000, I think is what we were told. Transfers to the textbook fund, technology fund, maintenance, and PERS reserve have been decreased from 24-25. And that's simply because there's plenty of funds in there. We're able to transfer quite a bit over the last couple of years, so. Our debt service fund. Okay, we have 3 general obligation bonds in our debt service fund now, from 2014, the refinance in 2021, and then our current 2024 bond. Those are paid for by the levy we file with the county for the property taxes. Right there, it shows the levy amount, and that assumes a 3% increase in tax assessed values. They levy that, they send us monthly property tax payments, we receipt it, and then we pay the debt service payments throughout the year. We also have our PERS bond still. That is due to expire, I think, in 2027, so we're getting close to that. The way that gets paid for is we apply a payroll deduction to all payroll. And that liability builds up throughout the year with those payroll deductions, and then we make that debt payment at the end of the year. And the capital fund, this is for the most recent bond that passed. The resources from that, of course, are coming from the bond funds. It's a rollover, going to be mostly a rollover from this year of unspent funds. The awesome grant, we did receive, we'll be getting that at some point, and then interest earnings. And those expenses obviously are all for building acquisitions, construction, site improvements, whatnot. Okay, so looking forward, there is a special education fund bill out there that lifts the cap, that 11% cap that I was talking about. We're not sure if that's happening or not. We were hearing that there was hope for it, but now I'm hearing maybe there's not. So that might be out. They were also looking at fully funding the high cost disability. Not sure where that's at either. Those two are kind of in limbo. We also are looking at a decrease in the PERS rate of 1.68%. It sounds like that's pretty much a sure thing. We will be getting our new PERS rates, I think at the end of May. They were hoping to get them out. So that'll save us a little bit throughout the year on our PERS costs. Summer learning grants, they are starting to issue those. It's too late for us this year to implement that grant this summer, but we may be looking at it for next summer. And then we need to wait for new forecasts to come out. I've heard there will be coming one out in May and then again in June. I think there's going to be quite a few this year. Watch enrollment numbers and adjust as needed, and wait for federal grant allocations to come in and adjust as needed as well. Does anybody have questions? Did everybody get the questions I emailed out? Okay. Okay. Are there questions? No?
Could you make one up? Just so we have one question.
Yeah, if there's no questions, I did put out the motion language for everyone. I think probably started for you, I don't know. That's what needs to be stated. Approve the budget.
All right, I make a motion to approve the 2025 budget of $60,662,108 as proposed.
I second
All those in favor?
that.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then I have to do the second one as well. Okay. I make a motion to approve ad valorem taxes for the 25-26 fiscal year at the rate of 4.8240% per 1,000 in assessed value for operating purposes, and in the amount of $2,742,369 for bonded indebtedness.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Vote didn't pass.
Might be a record.
So,
Wasn't a lot of new stuff.
if there's nothing else, then I call to adjourn until next year, the Fern Ridge School District Budget Committee.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah.
Do you know what state, where those bills are for like special education?
I haven't got an update today. There, a week or two ago,